as it spins.
Welcome to your 60. Welcome to your 30 in 60, where we bring you the latest news from a secular humanist perspective. Insightful, rational, and to the point. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the inaugural your 30 and 60, which is a news show that compiles the top news stories from the latest 30 days, for the last 30 days, rather, in the new national and global news from a secular humanist perspective. I am your host, Cynthia McDonald. Let's get to it. Let's go to the first picture. In national news, the U.S. is in our election season. The frontrunner from the Democratic Party, Joe Biden, has stepped aside and has endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris to take his place to run for president. In the first 24 hours of her endorsement from President Biden, she raised over $200 million. The Harris campaign named Governor of Minnesota Tim Walz as her vice president choice. In AP News, according to people familiar with the conversations in her 90-minute interview with Walz, stood out. Harris had also been impressed with Walz's record as a House member and governor, and his biography before politics: Army National Guard, non-commissioned officer, public school teacher, high school football coach, and just the two politicians jailed. According to CNN, former President Donald Trump recently accused Kamala Harris of turning black for political gain, igniting controversy among multiracial voters. Trump's remarks made during an interview at the National Association of Black Journalists convention have prompted a strong reaction from voters who share mixed heritage, many of whom feel personally attacked and targeted by his rhetoric. While some voters were initially hesitant and supported Harris, Trump's comments have swayed them in her favor, highlighting the ongoing challenges multiracial individuals face regarding their identities. Harris responded to the remarks, calling them divisive and disrespectful, while Trump continued to question her racial identity. According to NBC News, in the heated race for the vice presidency, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance has intensified his attacks on Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, accusing him of avoiding deployment to Iraq by retiring from the Army National Guard in 2005. Vance, who served in the Marine Corps, criticized Walz for allegedly misrepresenting his military service, particularly his claims of having served in a combat zone. The Harris campaign defended Walz, emphasizing his 24-year of honorable service. The attacks come as both parties strive to define Walz, a relatively unknown figure on the national stage, as the race heats up. In the 2024 U.S. presidential race, Vice President Kamala Harris continues to build momentum, as recent polls indicate her gaining ground nationally and in key battleground states against former President Donald Trump. With President Joe Biden stepping aside, Harris has emerged as a Democratic Party's presumptive nominee, significantly reshaping the electoral landscape. According to The Guardian, Kamala Harris is gaining strength in 2024 U.S. presidential election as polls show her building leads or closing on Donald Trump. 538 national averages has Harris up by 2.1 points over Trump, according to as of this particular recording. In battleground states like Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, Harris holds slight leads, while Trump maintains a narrow advantage in Arizona and Georgia. Harris' entry into the race in mid-July after President Biden endorsed her has led to significant shifts in polling, narrowing what was once a lopsided race in the favor of Trump. Cook Political Report and Sabado Crystal Ball has reclassified several key states from lean Republicans to toss up. Despite the positive trends for Harris, challenges remain. While she leads in some national and battleground polls, the CNBC survey still shows Trump ahead in terms of economic trust among voters. Harris' campaign faces the task of defining her independence of Biden's administration as the race intensifies. We can go ahead to the next story, please. Just one moment, guys. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about in other national news, Sonia Massey. Former deputy Sean Grayson, charged with first-degree murder for the fatal shooting of Sonia Massey in her Springfield home, was denied bail despite his medical condition, including treatment of colon cancer. The judge ruled that Grayson remains a real and present threat to the community, citing his behavior before and after the shooting. Grayson, who claimed he shot Massey in self-defense, has pleaded not guilty. His firing from the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office has led to further scrutiny, including the resignation of Sheriff Jack Campbell under mounting pressure. In the case that has drawn national attention, former Illinois Deputy Sean Grayson, who was charged with first-degree murder of Sonia Massey, was denied bail by the judge who deemed him a real and present threat. To the community, this ruling, despite Grayson's medical needs, comes amid ongoing protests and the resignation of Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell, highlighting a deepening controversy over police conduct and accountability. If you all have missed it, on Black Freethinkers last Monday, they did a deep dive into the Sonia Massey case, including the murder that happened at her home once she called Springfield police in order for them to assist her because she thought that there was a prowler on her home, around her home. Instead of actually getting help, she was killed over presumably a boiling hot water and rebuking Grayson in the name of Jesus. Hopefully one day we can actually get some more justice for this. Lawyer Ben Crump is actually representing the family, seeking recompense for the murder of Sonia Massey, another Black woman who lost her life under the guise of police seeking help. Let's go to the next story. In global news, the Summer Olympics in Paris is in Paris in 2024, and the top two medal count is as follows of this reporting. The United States has 33 medals, gold, 39 silver, and 39 bronze, and a total of 111. China is next with 33 gold, 27 silver, and 23 bronze, and a total of 83 medals altogether. And then Great Britain has 14 gold medals, 20 silver medals, and 23 bronze, a total of 67 medals in total. The Paris Olympics opening ceremony has kicked off with quite a bang, literally. But amidst the glitz and glamour, one particular performance has sparked outrage and controversy among the globe. Next slide, please. The ceremony, set along the picturesque Seine River, featured a wide array of eye-catching acts, yet it's a scene depicting the scantily clad man painted in blue emerging amidst drag queens as a tableau reminiscent of religious iconography that has drawn the most ire. Many Christians and conservative leaders have condemned this performance, accusing it of mocking Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper, a cornerstone of Christian symbolism. The organizers, however, are defending the scene as a celebration of Dionysus, the ancient Greek god of wine and revelry. They argue that their inspiration came from ancient pagan festivals, not religious mockery. Yet despite these assurances, the backlash continues with accusations of insensitivity and disrespect. The Olympic Committee and Paris 2024 artistic director insist that there are no intentions to offend. They describe the performance as a nod to historical festivities rather than a critique of any faith. But as public outrage and calls for apologies grow, it raises the question in our modern multicultural world, where do we draw the line between artistic expression and cultural sensitivity? I would just like to interject right here. For those who happen to be offended by this particular scene, maybe, just maybe, they need to learn a little bit more about history, including other mythos outside of Christianity, so that they can get a better understanding. Next slide, please. In more Olympic news, Iman Khalif, the Algerian welterweight boxer, clinched gold medal on this past Friday, overcoming her opponent in a swirl of contentious scrutiny. At the Roland Garros Stadium, Khalif delivered a unanimous decision victory against China's Yang Lu, earning praise from the sizable Algerian crowd with chants of Allez, Amin, Iman, and 1, 2, 3, Algier. I do apologize. Despite her impressive performance, Khalif faced intense scrutiny and skepticism relating to her gender, a controversy that has tainted her journey through the competition. Questions about her gender fueled by unverified claims and misconceptions that have dogged Khalif since her earlier fights, including a first-round victory over Angeline Greene, who withdrew just after 46 seconds. Khalif remained focused throughout the turmoil, dedicating her win to her supporters and acknowledging the overwhelming backing from her fans in her country. I am very happy. God made that happen. That's my dream, she exclaimed about the bout. Her preparation, which spanned 8 years across the United States and Europe, was crucial in achieving her Olympic goal. Despite challenges, Khalif's performance was unassailable in the ring. All 5 judges scored each 10-9 in her favor, cementing her victory. Post-match, Khalif celebrated with a victory lap, hoisted by supporter and draped in the Algerian flag, a symbol of her triumph and the support that she has received. The cloud of controversy surrounding Khalif and her fellow boxer Lin Yuting of Chinese Taipei highlights ongoing issues within the international boxing community. Both athletes were controversially excluded from a competition in New Delhi last year following allegations from a Russian-led International Boxing Association. Khalif's win, however, stands as a testament to her resilience and skill despite surrounding noise and baseless allegations. And just want to let you all know, as I pause right here, that we are still monetized. So please make sure that you all give to the super chats, and all super chat comments will be read towards the end of today's broadcast. Next slide, please. In other news, Israeli striking in Lebanon. Israel has targeted the killed Hamas official Samir al-Hajj in Sidon, southern Lebanon. The attack focused on the Aaron al-Hillway Palestinian refugee camp. The incident has heightened fears of a broader regional conflict. Israeli forces have intensified their assault in Gaza, hitting approximately 30 sites and issuing new evacuation orders. The UN reports that up to 70,000 people have been displaced from Khan Yunis, fleeing to al-Mawasi. Ongoing attacks have led to numerous casualties, including the deaths of 2 journalists in Gaza City and other areas. The violence has significantly impacted civilians and infrastructure. Amid the escalating conflict, Qatar, Egypt, and the U.S. have invited both Israel and Hamas to resume ceasefire negotiations on August 15th. This initiative aims to address the rising tensions and seeks a resolution. The Biden administration has decided not to impose sanctions on Netza Yehuda, an Israeli battalion accused of severe human rights and abuses up against Palestinians. This decision has sparked debates about U.S. military aid and its implications. Next slide, please. As we all know, that there's a crisis that's going on in Israel and also in the Gaza Strip and also the West Bank. But what is often not talked about is another crisis that's happening in Sudan. This news is from The Nation. While global attention is fixed on Gaza and Ukraine, Sudan's devastating conflict between the Sudanese Armed Forces, SAF, and the Rapid Support Forces, RSF, remains alarmingly underreported. The war has displaced over 20% of the population and driven the country to the brink of famine, with over 26 million people facing severe malnutrition by September. Food shortages are severe, exacerbated by the disruption of farming and inadequate international aid. The UN has received less than 20% of the necessary funds to address the crisis. The food rations have been drastically cut. As a result, many Sudanese are resorting to extreme measures like eating leaves and dirt. Both the SAF and RSF have been accused of using starvation as a weapon, deliberately blocking aid and targeting civilians. This manipulation of food supplies has further compounded the crisis, leading to the catastrophic situation where up to 2.5 million people could die from hunger and disease. The world's focus on other conflicts has overshadowed Sudan's plight, making it crucial for the international community to urgently address this growing humanitarian disaster and provide meaningful aid to prevent a full-scale famine. Next slide, please. Another overlooked conflict is the war in Burkina Faso. This story is from Human Rights Watch. In 2023, Burkina Faso experienced a severe deterioration in human rights due to the escalating violence from Islamic armed groups and abuses by military forces and pro-government militias. Conflicts-related violence resulted in nearly 7,600 deaths, and over 2 million people were displaced since the conflict began in 2016. The military government, which took power in a 2022 coup, cracked down on media and dissent while forming alliances with non-Western countries like Russia. Islamic groups primarily linked to al-Qaeda killed hundreds of civilians, besieged towns, and caused severe food shortages. Meanwhile, in the Burkinabe military and allied militias committing extrajudicial killings and other abuses. The government has struggled with accountability through some investigations into abuses that are ongoing. Additionally, widespread violence has closed 1/4 of the country's schools, affecting nearly 1 million students. Internationally, Burkina Faso has cut ties with France and formed a new defense alliance with Mali and Niger. Again, just want to let you all know that Skeptic Haven is monetized. You can give your super chats. And make sure that you are giving your super chats to Skeptic Haven. If you also have questions or comments that you would like to be read, they will be read towards the end of this show. Now I have my final thoughts, which includes a commentary over the battle of religion in public schools in the United States. In recent years, the separation of church and state, a cornerstone of American democracy, has come under increasing scrutiny. This issue, which has long been settled, a precedent, and legal interpretation, is challenged anew by a wave of legislation aimed at promoting religious teachings in public schools. The most recent examples are Louisiana's recent requirement to display the Ten Commandments in public schools and Oklahoma's mandate to teach the Bible. These developments raise fundamental questions about the role of religion in public education, the integrity of the Constitution Establishment Clause, and the broader implications for the pluralistic society. The United States Constitution's First Amendment explicitly prohibits the government from establishing an official religion or favoring one religion over the other. This principle, known as the Establishment Clause, has been interpreted by courts for decades as requiring a strict separation between church and state. This means the public institutions, including schools, are not to endorse, promote, or impose religious beliefs on students. This foundational principle is what ensures that all citizens, regardless of their religious beliefs or lack thereof, are treated equally under the law. However, recent moves by Republican governed states like Louisiana and Oklahoma are directly challenging this separation. The requirements to display the Ten Commandments in public schools and the mandate to teach the Bible are clear endorsements of specific religious viewpoints. These actions are not only threatened to religious neutrality of public education, but also undermine the constitutional protections that prevent the government from imposing religious beliefs on its citizens. The U.S. Supreme Court, particularly in its current conservative incarnation, has shown a willingness to revisit and, in some cases, overturn long-standing precedents that have upheld the separation of church and state. The court's decision in 2022 case of the Washington State Public School coach who was suspended for leading prayers on the field after games is a notable example. By ruling in favor of the coach, the court signaled a shift towards a more expansive interpretation of religious rights, even when such rights infringe on the religious neutrality of the public institutions. This shift has emboldened conservative lawmakers to push for more religious content in public schools, viewing the court's evolving stance as an opportunity to reshape the legal landscape in favor of Christian conservatism. The implications of this shift are profound. If the Supreme Court continues down this path, we may see a gradual erosion of the separation between church and state, leading to a scenario where public schools have become battlegrounds for religious indoctrination rather than places of inclusive education. At the heart of this issue is the question of whether it is appropriate for public schools, which serve students from diverse backgrounds, to endorse or promote specific religious beliefs. The indoctrination of the Ten Commandments and Bible school teachings into public school curricula is not just a matter of religious expression. It is an act of religious endorsement. For students who do not share these religious beliefs, such endorsements can be alienating, exclusionary, and coercive. Imagine being a student from a non-Christian background or one who identifies as non-religious, as walking into a classroom where the Ten Commandments are prominently displayed. The message is clear. This is what you should believe. Such a scenario not only disregards the religious diversity of the student's body, but also undermines the very idea of the public education system that is meant to be neutral and inclusive. Furthermore, the claim by some Christian conservatives that the United States was found as a Christian nation is historically inaccurate. The founding fathers, while many were personally religious, deliberately chose to establish a government that was secular, ensuring that no single religion would dominate the public sphere. To suggest otherwise is to rewrite history in a way that serves a particular ideology and an ideological agenda. To push and to introduce religious teachings into public schools is not just about education, it is about power. It is about the broader effort to reshape American society in accordance with a specific set of religious beliefs. This effort is deeply antithetical to the principles of pluralism and democracy. In a pluralistic society, the government's role is to protect the rights of all citizens, regardless of their religious beliefs. This means maintaining a strict separation between religion and government institutions, including public schools. If we allow religious teaching to become embedded in public education, we risk creating a society where religious conformity is expected and dissent is marginalized. This is not the vision of freedom and equality that the founders had in mind. Instead, it is a step towards a society where religious authority dictates public policy and personal freedoms are curtailed. In light of these developments, it's important that, and more than ever, to encourage critical thinking, particularly among young people. Education should be about fostering independent thought, not about indoctrinating students into a particular religious or ideological worldview. It's about, as citizens, we must remain vigilant and hold our elected officials accountable for upholding the Constitution and protecting the rights of all Americans. We must also recognize that the introduction of religious teachings into public schools is not just about a legal issue, it's a moral one. It raises fundamental questions about the kind of society we want to live in. Do we want a society where individuals are free to choose their own beliefs? Or do we want one where a particular set of beliefs are imposed upon everyone? As we move forward, it is crucial to engage in open and honest discussions about these issues, to question the motives behind the legislative efforts, and to stand up for principles of religious freedom and separation of church and state. Only by doing so can we ensure that public schools remain places of learning, not battlegrounds for religious indoctrination. The current wave of legislation promoting religious teachings in public schools is a direct challenge to the constitutional principles that we have had long protecting religious freedoms in the United States. As citizens, we must remain vigilant and committed to defending these principles. The separation of church and state is not just a legal doctrine. It safeguards our freedom and is the cornerstone of our democracy. Let's not be swayed by all those who seek to blur the lines between religion and government. Instead, let us uphold the values of pluralism, inclusivity, and critical thinking that are essential to a free and democratic society. That's all we got today, folks. I know we said 30 and 60, but it looks more like 30 and 30. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in. If you like the content here on Skeptic Hazen, don't hesitate to give us a like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications every time that we go live or when we upload any new content. Also, you can support us by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Skeptic Haven. We like to thank all of our patrons. And let me see if I can go ahead and get their names. Paul Cammish, Karen Bocher, Puck, Helen Greene, Logan Fisher, Amanda McLeod, Eric Ozols, Rion, Deneen Murphy, Dan D, Michael Wiseman, Sunny Shell, Aaron Coalson, and Phil Calderone. Also, don't forget to check out our other shows on Skeptic Haven. Mondays, The Black Free Thinkers. Tuesdays, Secular Soapbox. Thursdays, The Sunny Spot. Saturdays, The Global Atheists and Women Atheists Unload. And Let's Talk on Sundays. We also like to let you all know, again, we're monetized. So please don't hesitate to give to Super Chats. And we give you all a chance next time to go ahead and give those Super Chats. And in that particular course, guys, thank you again. And this has been your 30 in less than 60. We'll see you all again soon. Take care.